The Anomaly, Tensura X Data Live, by Nocturne_Chapter 3, Discussion. From this chapter on, Rimuru will use the pronunciation, she, because you know. I'm not really interested in gender talk that much, so I don't care. Tell me if you want me to change it back. Shidu Pav, before Rimuru caused the space quake. This morning, while in class with his friends, Shidu suddenly heard the alarm of an incoming space quake. The whole class moved to the shelter together, and he had to follow, and Tama-chan sensei seems to be the one panicking the most. After going down to the shelter, some students in the next class suddenly panicked, causing chaos in the hallway. Shidu knew that it must be the staff of Ratatosker who were distracting everyone to let him leave. He quickly took advantage of the chaos, told Toka and the Yamai sisters to stay with the class, and immediately went to investigate the space quake. Immediately after getting out of the shelter, Shidu took the communication device and put it in his ear. Right after that, Kotori contacted him. "Can you hear me?" Shidu Kotori's voice came out clearly, right next to Shidu's ear. "Yeah, I can hear you." "Good, I'll send you the coordinates. Go to that place and do not get too close, good luck." "Understood," Shidu said. His heart was beating fast, but there was no way he was going to run away. With that thought in mind, Shidu started to go to where Kotori told them. After a while, he finally approached the location. The scene in front of him now was nothing but a huge crater. The buildings and roads that used to be there have disappeared without a trace. Everything had completely disappeared, but when Shidu looks at the center of the crater, he noticed a young girl, perhaps 15 or 16 years old, with long light blue hair. Her outfit is mostly white, which gives her a divine beauty despite the destruction around her. Today is a cloudy day, and the surrounding landscape also appears darker than usual. In the middle of that space, the girl just stood in the middle of the place where the space quake happened and slowly opened her eyes. Her eyes glowed with a distinctly bright golden color, which he could see even from a distance, and he wanted to get closer to the girl, but… "Shidu, quickly get out of there. We're late, the Ast is already here." But Shidu wanted to protest but was cut off by Kotori. "We currently lack information about that spirit, we won't know how the battle between her and the Ast will unfold, so let's leave quickly." Kotori gave a quick explanation. But before he could agree or disagree with Kotori's decision, boom! A resounding explosion that could be heard clearly from the girl's position just now made him immediately look at that place with a worried expression. The place where the girl was standing just now was covered in a thick cloud of dust and bullets started to rain down from the Ast group. But amid that rain of bullets, a faint silhouette quickly shot up from the ground and stopped in midair. Even though he couldn't see from this distance, Shidu was able to guess that it was the girl. "Shidu, get out of there quickly," Kotori's voice resounded, causing Shidu to immediately return to reality. "Understood." Shidu stood from afar and looked back at the girl with hesitation, but after a moment, he still had to leave. When he went far enough, he looked at the place just now. That girl is still there, and is fighting the Ast. Their battle was so fast that Shidu's eyes were having trouble seeing. The girl easily dodged all the attacks from the Ast and fought Origami directly. Sounds of explosions reached his place, but then Shidu saw the girl suddenly stop. Her lips muttered something, and then her whole body emitted a dazzling light that made Shidu narrow his eyes. That light gradually softened and gathered the sword she was holding in her hand. After a while, she swung her sword in a vertical line and… boom! A loud explosion occurred, followed by a blinding flash of light. Even though Shidu didn't look directly at the light and explosion caused him to be temporarily deaf and blind. He took a few steps back, stumbled, and fell to the ground as a result of losing his balance. His vision was covered with white light for a while due to being blinded. In his ears right now, there is always a loud, annoying ringing sound. And then, a slight warm feeling from the healing fire gradually spread throughout his body, proving that just the light from that attack was enough to cause heavy damage to his body. As Shidu's hearing and vision gradually returned, that white light in his eyes gradually softened and disappeared. He slowly opened his eyes and the landscape in front of him was now more destroyed than before. The city that once existed disappeared in an instant in a long straight line. When Shidu's ears were able to hear a little bit more, Shidu heard Kotori's voice. Oni-chan, quickly get out of there now, did you hear that? Yeah, I'll leave immediately. Saying that, Shidu tried to stand up unsteadily. But before he left, he turned around to look at the place where the battle had taken place earlier. His limbs were still shaking. That spirit girl remained in the same spot while all the AST members were defeated. He looked at the scene before him with fear. He didn't know if he would be able to recover if he got hit directly by such a devastating attack. Shidu immediately turned his back and started to run away, not daring to look back on that side of the battle. While he was running, he heard another loud bang, but he didn't dare to look back. But then he heard Kotori's voice through the earpiece. She disappeared, quickly searched to see if she's gone. Shidu, who heard that, immediately stopped and turned his head to look at the area of the battle just now. He could see some AST figures stumbling to their feet, some helping others to get up. Looking at people who are injured, the destroyed landscape makes Shidu think about that girl. About how scary she was. Found her. It looks like she's hiding. Alright, Shidu, go back to the ship. We'll try to talk to her after we have more information. But instead of following Kotori's orders, Shidu spoke up. Please send me to her location, I'll talk to her. He remembered seeing the surviving members of the AST earlier. With that power, she could easily destroy the entire AST team if she wanted to, but she chose not to. And that was the only reason why Shidu still believed in that girl. She wasn't here to fight, but she has to. No, that's too dangerous. Didn't you see that attack earlier? What if she attacks you with it, Kotori? But didn't you see that she didn't kill anyone? Hearing Shidu's words, Kotori was silent for a bit and then asked Rain. Rain, how many people died from those 2 attacks? No one, not even any AST members, was killed after Rain's report. Kotori was silent for a while and then spoke. Alright, I'll teleport you there. Remember, not to do anything foolish. Thank you, Shidu hastily said. After that, Kotori teleported him to the nearest place they could to the location of that girl. When he got there, he saw the figure of the spirit girl. Her blue hair stretched down to her back, and it looked like she was trying to calm herself. Not wanting to surprise her, Shidu spoke softly. Hey. But before he could say anything more than that, the girl disappeared and appeared right in front of him with the tip of her sword close to his face. Her long blue hair covered part of her face, and a murderous aura could be felt from her. Her golden eyes now looked like those of a predator, sharp and alert. Oni-chan. Kotori also seemed surprised by this action of the girl. After that came Rain's voice. Spirits are very alert to their surroundings. You should talk to her and calm her down, Shin Rain said in her usual calm voice. Hearing Rain's words, Shidu quickly knew what to do. Wait, I don't have any bad intentions. Please calm down, Shidu said, his voice trembling, and he had forgotten that he should wait for Ratatosker to tell him what to do. Even if he knew what to do, having his sword pointed at him still scared him. Who are you? What have you come here for? The spirit girl kept a cold voice and spoke. My name is Itsuka Shidu. I came here just to help you and didn't mean anything bad. Hearing Shidu's explanation, the spirit girl in front of her suddenly had a complicated expression. She then looked at Shidu once more, as if to judge him. She finally lowered the blade from Shidu's face. I'll believe you. But what about those devices? What about the earpiece, the drones, and the ship? The girl said that shocked both him and the entire Fraxinus crew. We were too uninformed about her power when we approached her. This is not good for us, Kotori said, sounding annoyed. Shidu, explained to her about us. After being ordered by Kotori, Shidu slowly opened his mouth and said. These are from the Ratatosker organization. Ratatosker? The spirit girl repeated Shidu's words with a puzzled expression. Ratatosker is an organization that was established to save spirits, Shidu tried to explain as concisely as possible. Shidu said, looking at the spirit girl with expectant eyes, waiting for a response. Save, she asked, and Shidu just nodded and continued talking. That's right, we save the spirits by sealing their spiritual energy and giving them a normal life. Shidu explained and then waited for her response. After a while, she spoke up. I don't need it. Her words surprised Shidu. Why? Because I have more important things to do. Is it more important than being chased by the AST? Correct, she said in another sentence. Her words surprised him more and more, and Shidu couldn't help but ask. What is it? However, when Shidu finished his sentence, he heard Kotori's voice. Shidu the Ast is approaching. Take her away from there immediately. After Kotori's announcement, Shidu spoke up. Hey, it's dangerous here, how about? However, before he finished speaking, the girl interrupted Shidu's words. It's okay, I can take care of them, and you should get out of here. He was surprised that the girl in front of him seemed to have discovered the Ast group as well, but that doesn't matter. No way. I'm not gonna. Once again, before Shidu finished his sentence, he heard a voice coming from the girl. What a hard-headed. After that sentence, suddenly, the place where he stood right now was not a small alley anymore. And he was in the control room of Fraxinus. All of the crew members present looked at him in surprise. Even Kotori is like that. All eyes were looking at him with surprise. Back to the present, after Rimuru got teleported into the neighboring world. What a hard-headed. After the spirit girl said those words, Shidu realized that he was no longer in the alley but right now, he was in Fraxinus' control room. Everyone in the control room was staring at him with surprised faces, and so was he. There was a long moment of silence in the Fraxinus control room. No one said anything. Everyone seems to be trying to figure out what's going on. And after a while, it was Rain who broke the silence. That spirit had disappeared. Rain's words seemed to bring everyone back to reality. The crew members immediately returned to their work. Noticing that Shidu still looked surprised, Rain stepped in front of him and said, "That's probably one of her abilities, the ability to manipulate space." Hearing Rain's words, Shidu was also able to figure it out a bit. He had regained his composure and nodded to Rain. After seeing that he had calmed down, Rain walked back to her place and continued to assist the other crew members. Looks like she's gone, Kanazuki said while looking at the data. After Kanazuki's report, everyone in the control room remained silent, with no other sounds other than the faint noises coming from the machine on board. Shidu can see some of the crew members breathe out a sigh of relief after those intense moments. After a while, Kotori stood up and spoke. "I'll see you all in the meeting room. We have an urgent matter to discuss," Kotori said in a strained voice. After hearing Kotori's words, Shidu just nodded and followed silently. In the meeting room, after everyone settled into their seats, Kotori stood up and spoke. "First, as far as we know, this is a new spirit. This spirit has unimaginable destructive power, as shown in the following footage." After Kotori's words, the screen showed a scene of the battle. One video was unable to show anything due to the bright light that damages the camera. Another video shows more clearly the destruction of that spirit. A horizontal slash of black energy pierced the air, destroying everything in its path. By just watching the footage, Shido can feel his hands start to shake. If that attack were to fly in the direction of Fraxinus, the entire ship would be completely wiped out of existence. In the meeting room, everyone was silent after watching the footage. After a while, Kanazuki held a report in his hand and spoke up. "According to what we know, the spirit has recently been codenamed Destroyer due to her destructive attacks." Kanazuki spoke and pressed something on the keyboard. Immediately, after another, the ruined images of the city were displayed on the main screen. One photo, in particular, caught everyone's attention. It's a photo taken from the top with a bird's eye view and shows a long, straight line of the city that has been destroyed. The buildings and streets that once existed there seem to have evaporated. Shido opens his eyes slightly wide, biting down on his back teeth. Looking at those scenes, everyone was completely silent. Shido could see a few drops of sweat on the crew's faces, enough to understand the seriousness of the matter. But then, I want to get hit by those so bad, Kanazuki suddenly spoke in a strange tone and kept strangely twisting his body. Everyone in the room turned their attention to Kanazuki. The destruction, I wonder what they'll do to my body. If it's possible, then I'd like one no, both of those attacks hit me at the same time. What a divine punishment. While Kanazuki was talking in an aroused tone, Kotori looked at him with an angry expression and goo. Kanazuki only managed to let out a single sound before falling to the ground due to Kotori's punch in the stomach. A divine punishment, Kanazuki muttered with glee while clutching his stomach and lying on the floor. "Shut up," Kotori said and kicked Kanazuki in the stomach making him moan louder. Ah, thanks, thank you. After a while, Kotori also calmed down and returned to her seat, while Kanazuki was still on the floor, clutching his stomach with a satisfied expression. Even though it's weird, it seems what happened just now has taken away the tension in the room from the beginning until now. Shido silently thanked Kanazuki for his sacrifice. Everyone immediately turned back to look at the information on the screen. While everyone was still silent, Rain spoke. From my observations, based on the battle just now, this spirit is quite passive and will only attack if provoked. But even when provoked, she didn't kill anyone, not even asked. That's right, she seems to have tried to negotiate first rather than rush into battle like a maniac. Kotori nodded in agreement with Rain. But there's one thing that I find strange, said Rain, immediately catching Kotori's attention. What is it? Kotori said curiously. Everyone around was looking at Rain, waiting for an answer. The spirit's mood meter when she first appeared showed that she was feeling stressed at the time, and during her encounter with Ast, she gradually calmed down. But then, until she met Shin, her tension started to rise again. Hearing that, Kotori frowned. Does that mean she's not as wary of the Ast group as she is with Shido? You could say so, Rain said, nodding slightly. What does that mean? This is just my theory, but it's most likely that she can feel the spiritual energy radiating from Shin while he was recovering his eyes after being blinded by the light, Rain said, looking at Shido. Everyone in the meeting room also looked at him, making him feel awkward. Did you affected by that attack, Shido? Even though I'm far away, I still take some minor damage, Shido replied. Kotori put her hand on her chin, looking like she was thinking about something, and then spoke up. With her being able to detect us even with the realizer making us invisible, then it's very likely that your theory is correct. If that's the case, maybe because she's wary of other spirits. Kotori muttered. After thinking for a while, Kotori sighed and stood up to speak. It is true that this time we were too careless and did not have enough information about this spirit. But it is also fortunate that she did not show hostility. However, given the destructive nature of her ability, we must be extremely cautious in sealing her or there will be consequences. After Kotori's words, no one said anything, everyone still kept tense expressions while looking at Kotori, waiting for the decision from their commander. For now, this meeting is over. Everyone go back to your work, I'll have a meeting with the higher up. Kotori said. She then walked out of the room. So did the other crew members, one by one leaving with Kanazuki slowly rolling out of the room still clutching his stomach. Shido remained still inside with a tired face after what just happened. Suddenly, Rain approached him and put her hand on his shoulder. You did a good job, Shin. Thank you, Rain, Shidu said with a wary smile. After saying that, Rain nodded and also left, leaving Shidu alone. He looked up at the screen and saw the face of the girl. Even though the image on the screen is from a distance and cannot capture the girl's face. But her face is still imprinted on Shidu's memory. Her face was beautiful, with golden eyes and silvery blue hair. It is stunningly beautiful, but extremely cold. A cold beauty that can make anyone who looks at her feel like she's some holy being from fiction. She was on guard with anyone approaching her, but even so, she didn't want to harm anyone. The first time Shido met her, her sword was pointed at his throat, which made him tremble when realized that he could have died. Although there were still mixed feelings about this, Shido had calmed down somewhat. He got up and left the meeting room with a conclusion in mind. That girl isn't a bad person, she just has to protect herself with strength. If she wasn't being attacked, none of this would have happened. Origami POV. Origami is currently at one of the JGSDF bases. After a training session, she and her teammates are currently resting. While resting, Origami overheard the conversation of her teammates. That spirit was a real monster. Because of her, our team got injured like this. That's right, that thing is a real monster. After the battle with the spirit code-named Destroyer, most of the AST team was injured and needed some time to recover. Origami and the people here are one of the few who can continue to fight. Thinking about that battle, Origami could only grit her teeth silently without showing any emotion on her face. While Origami was still angry about the previous battle, a woman approached her. She was wearing the same wiring suit as Origami, with her hand on her hip. Captain Kusakabe Ryuko. The commanding officer of the asked that Origami belonged to. Origami, are you okay? I'm fine, Captain. I told you there was no need to call me Captain in times like this. In response to Captain Ryuko's words, Origami just kept silent. Seeing Origami like that, Ryuko just sighed. I know you're angry about the previous battle, but cheer up. Because thanks to you, we didn't have any deaths. It's not because of me, it's because that spirit spared us, it's mercy from the enemy. That thing spares us because it sees how weak we are. Origami spoke with an expressionless face, but Ryuko could feel the anger in her words. Ryuko sighed and spoke up. No matter what you think, remember to try not to rush forward like that next time. Even if you're helping the team, leaving the formation can be very dangerous. Origami didn't answer Ryuko and just stared into space as if thinking about something. Okay, practice is over anyway. Why don't you go home and rest for a while? Roger. End, Chapter 3.